Welcome back to Love and Hustle. I'm Brittany.
And I'm Zach.
And this is the podcast where couples, companies, and chaos collide.
Let's dive back in.
So it's been a while. Why haven't you been coming around on our podcast?
I don't know. Have I been invited? It's been a bit. You are correct. I think I got lost for a while.
I mean, you're always invited. I just want everyone to know that I was planning on doing a podcast on my own. And we had this idea. We did like a little staycation, the two of us, and you were like, I think we should do it together. You like kind of pitched me for this whole concept of creating a space for entrepreneur couples, how there's always the partner to the entrepreneur. There's always like most, and I'm sure a lot of you guys listening right now, there's usually not an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. There's usually somebody with a very stable career and then the entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, I would say partners can be active or passive, and sometimes you start off as a passive partner, just being support. And then before you know it, you're wearing an apron and you're getting your hands dirty and you're up in
and you're not getting paid.
Hopefully you get paid at some point.
Yes. You're paid now, which is good.
Yeah, well, we have multiple endeavors now, so there's a lot of... I will say one of the main points of the podcast, beyond just talking about family and business, but entrepreneurial couples go through unique circumstances because you have to, and I've been learning this for a long time, know when to take your entrepreneurial or partner hat off and put your husband hat or your wife hat back on. And sometimes that's in the same conversation, and it gets kind of tricky. Yeah. Because they can blend really quickly, and that can cause conflict and problems, which we can always talk about in episodes like this. But ultimately, I think when you first get out, there's going to be an entrepreneur and then someone else who's holding down a stable job until things take off, which hopefully they do. And then you have to play with the idea of what's next. But
yeah, well, I mean, but some people are. I think that it's a really great strategy. I mean, for there to be somebody who has a very stable income, a very reliable job that has security, benefits, and then there's the person who's kind of taking the risk that doesn't carry a lot of those big corporation cushions, so to speak. I don't know why we're on this tangent. How do we get here? This is not the topic for today.
What is the topic for today?
Okay, so tonight, this is the eve of my mommy makeover.
Oh, wow. That is very true. And yes, it has been a long time coming.
Yeah. And so I recorded part 1 of the mommy makeover series where I just talked, I answered all the questions. I will say I got several of the questions I answered in part 1, I got several times. I had people asking how much, multiple times. Who did you go with? Multiple times. How did you pick? Multiple times. Mm-hmm. So I answered really like the top, probably like 5 to 10 questions. And I shared about my process of who I decided to go with, and just sort of like what has led up to this moment. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really get into like much of the personal aspects and the emotional aspects that I think come with this. And I honestly feel like people don't really talk about. And this is the raw, the real.
The unedited. So, with that introduction, how are you feeling?
Well, number one, I'm hydrating while you're having a scotch. So...
Always.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, gosh, I would really love to have like a martini with you, but can't do that.
Not tonight.
Or a glass of wine, yeah. Not tonight. I'll be hydrating. My goal, you guys, I have exactly 1 hour and 10 minutes until I'm in PO, which means you can't have anything. You can't drink.
No
you can't.
Oral consumption.
Yeah, you can't drink. You can't eat nothing. So this water bottle, those of you watching on YouTube, it has to be gone because I'm not good at hydrating, and I need to hydrate. So, how am I feeling? I'm really honestly, I'm really scared. Yeah, I'm really scared. I've only gone under anesthesia one time, and it was for my wisdom teeth. And I think when you're, at the time, I was like 17, 18, I was like, I had no idea. Like, nobody told me. And keep in mind, this was like 2005. So, like, there was no like social media, or like, you weren't being exposed to the realities of things outside of like textbooks and like, you just didn't have the accessibility to information. So like, I remember going in there and they're like, oh, count to 3. And like, I just like, all of a sudden I woke up without teeth. I had no idea. And so, I think as we get older, especially as we become parents, we realize the risk in what it is that we're doing. Are you listening?
I am.
Okay, you are so zoned out there.
No, I'm listening.
I was about to snap at you.
No, I don't want to interrupt you, because I know that this is important, and your feelings are like that you're super scared. But we also are healthcare, and
well, yeah, but like, I think for me, it's like, I also think that's the other element to it, is that like, I've been in the room when people are under, mm-hmm. and I know like the conversations, and I've seen things go wrong, and so for me, like, I think there's like layers to it for me. It's like, one, I understand because I've been on the other side. I've been on the other side as a nurse and as a healthcare, professional. Mm-hmm. I've been on that side more than I've ever been on the patient side. Mm-hmm. And
yet still you have fear.
Yes. And I think the other thing too is just like, for me, there's a feeling of like immense vulnerability. Like, okay, like birthed 4 babies, but I was in the room. I was in control. Wow. I was like I was an active participant in the procedure.
Well, I think that's one of the things I think it's really cool to talk about in this sort of setting, is the rawness of you needing control.
Yeah.
Because
it's definitely my personality too.
It's one of those things that I think whenever you feel out of control, panic, anxiety.
I don't want to say I don't panic. I've literally, you've known me, I've never had a panic attack. If that is you, I'm not criticizing you or like speaking down to anybody who experiences that.
The only panic attack she's ever experienced is just before our wedding. And that
I didn't have a panic attack before our wedding.
Well, nearly.
I did not have a panic attack. That did not happen.
Okay.
I did not. Was I like incredibly anxious and I took Ativan because I wanted to like not be a spaz? 1000%.
Okay.
But did I have a panic attack? No. Very different things. Was I like very tightly like wound because I wanted the execution of our wedding day to be perfect? Yes. But was it a panic attack? No.
Okay.
Very different things. I just want to clarify. I mean, I'm very fortunate, like, given how much I don't know, like, I don't even know if control is the right word. I think for me, there's a level of perfectionism that, like, I'm not an overachiever, but I'm a perfectionist. Like, if I am going to do something, I'm going to do it right. Honestly. And you know what was really, this is a testament to that, and it's in a positive format, because it definitely has some negatives. But there was a client that I made the mistake. I had her due date written down as March 2nd, and I texted her on like March 4th, and I was like, are you holding a beautiful baby in your arms? And she's like, no. She's like, I'm not due until the 22nd or whatnot. And I was like, what do you mean? And I like went and I looked, and I'm like, I wrote it wrong. Like, it was written in her contract right, but I mistakenly wrote it wrong. And so I called her up and I was like, I need to talk to you. I was like, I made a mistake. And I said, there is someone filling in for me, but I want to make sure, like, I want to talk to you about it, make sure everything. She's like, Brittany, I trust you. I know that everything you do to the utmost highest. And whoever you put in that place will be just as good. And I was like, but that's a testament of I think my clients can feel my level of expectation, my level of control, perfectionism, and it gives them a sense of trust, like knowing that they're going to be in good hands because my expectations of what we produce is high. And I think that that's what's hard for me, is that, like, I've made this decision and I am a completely passive participant in it.
Because it's being done to you while you are not.
Yeah. Whereas, like, the other times that I have been in what would be considered a procedure, I have been an active participant. Like, every time we have been in another hospital setting, I have either been the nurse or I have been the person birthing a baby.
So I will jump in and say, having gone through many moments of execution with you, my only fear about this whole process, I have no fear about
I don't know if I want to hear your fear. This might not be the good thing to say.
Well, because I think this plays right into what you're saying from a, like, being an active participant, being in control. This is one of those things where somebody is doing something and you're going to wake up and have to just see it and just accept it.
So you know what I was thinking about, like, today?
I hate to say this, but I have hung 5,000 frames, and many of those times I've had to hang them more than once because it wasn't in the right spot just so. Yeah. And now
I will say that there's oftentimes a lack of communication before there's drilling. Like, we'll have a conversation.
There's communication, but it's just...
No. There's, like, I'll be like, this is what I think that I want. And then I'll be like, can you measure? And then I say, can you measure it out? And then you measure it out, and then you just do it. You don't actually come and get me. Like, you just do it. And you literally did it twice last week. No, just, like, pop your head in and be like, hey, I measured it out.
No, it's called measure twice, cut once. And literally, when you say, Zach, yep, it looks good, drills are going in the wall.
No. Let's pause for a second. Because the situation with the logo, you measured the whole thing out and actually started actively. Zach installed my logo, literally almost like 2 years of being in this building. You measured it out, and I had an idea of what I wanted. I was like, I think that this is the placement, but I'm not 100% sure. And you're like, great, okay, I'll measure it out. And then you measured it out and you just started installing it. And I was like, where was the part about measuring it out and then coming to get me to affirm that was the conversation? This is going to be a
tangent, so I'm not going to, like, take the bait.
I know that like women are listening to me right now and they're like, yeah, that's, like, legitimately happened to me. Like, I've said, let's, like, this is what I think, but let's double check it. And then, like, there was no double checking. It was just doing.
And for the one guy that's out there listening, you know that she said this and you did it and it was the wrong thing. It's all fine. But all I'm getting at is this doctor, thank God she is, well, let's just say, let's hope that she got what was asked, the directions and the placement of things. Hopefully it, like, registered because it's happening tomorrow.
So what she has is, there's a few things. One, I went in and I've actually had 2 consultations with her. And during that time, she asks a lot of questions about what you want, which is good. I mean, that's why I do consultations with my clients, because I want to make sure that I can create what they're envisioning. So if you're a client listening right now, like, do consultations with photographers. Like, you want to make sure that someone can deliver on your vision. And maybe you don't have a vision, right? Maybe you just, like, trust them, which is great too. But it's a collaborative thing, right? So she asked me a bunch of questions, and she's sort of like, well, this is what I think based on everything that you've said. This would be my plan for you. What questions do you have? And I did have questions. I asked about where my scars would be. I asked a lot of questions about how the procedure would take place, and like recovery, and just kind of like a variety of just like things that sort of came up in my mind. The biggest thing for me was the scarring. That was like by and far the biggest thing. And then I came back for a second appointment, and she was wonderful. She was like, okay, just like recap. This is what we're planning. And then I was like, my biggest thing is I want to know where my scars are. So I found a girl on Facebook who had a breast lift with her, and she said that she was surprised at how wide her scars were, and that they were visible in certain outfits. And I think this person had gone through a dramatic weight loss. And so in order to achieve like every body is different, right? So, but she's like, I just wish I would have asked. And I was like, well, that's really good advice. Like, I wouldn't have thought of that. So I went for a second appointment, and she literally mapped out exactly where I came home with, like, basically Sharpie marker all over my body.
That's when I knew that this doctor gave a shit about her patients being happy with placement. And I mean, Britt, she chose a female doctor, hoping that she puts...
I mean, I consider the second person was a man.
I understand, but there's always, I think, this, and I'm speaking as a man here, the man, whether he's a great doctor or not, he's visioning the female form through men's eyes. And a woman may have a better capacity to understand what a woman actually wants, how she feels in her body, how she feels when she's dressing. And I think I mean, and that's like another thing too, is like, I've never gone to a male OBGYN. Like, I've just never have in my life, and I never will and never would. And if that's, I know people who are like, I don't want anybody but a man. Like, it's a very personal thing. And like, to me, I wanted to be able to be like, oh, like, when like this happens, or like, how it feels, like, and a man's like, no, like they have no firsthand experience of what how it feels period cramps feel like. Rub together, or when it's under my armpit, or when I wear a strapless bra, how that feels. I have no idea. So as a man, like, cutting and sculpting and creating a form. Yeah. So I was really happy when you came home all inked up. I mean, first time I've ever seen you in tattoos, and it was it was quite impressive. She mapped out the scar lines for both procedures, and showed nipple placement and all those sorts of things.
Because they'll like, when they do the lift, they don't detach your nipples, which I like saw a video on how they do it, which is really interesting. But overall, I'm really happy with the decision. I think there's like, I think too, the other thing that happens in this that is so important, and I think why you should do multiple consultations, is because you're completely under. They can't be like, oh, clarifying question. Let's wake you up. Would you like you don't get like you have to fully trust that person. And so like, energy from that person is huge. Like, there was somebody who, the minute like I even went into the office, I was just like, no. Like, and she had a great reputation, and she came recommended, but like, just her energy was negative, demeaning. I can't imagine going under with her. Yeah. I don't see. And I think it's interesting, because somebody DM'd me and was like, oh, are you like, because I had mentioned like, I was like, oh, there was somebody who just like did not vibe with, and multiple people guessed who it was, which was really interesting, which is like very affirming that it was not just me who sensed it. But she's like, yeah, my friend, she's like, my friend is like a very emotionless person. So I can see how she wouldn't have picked up on those things. Like she just isn't intuitive into people's emotions like that. Or people's energy, I should say. But for me, I think like being able to 1000% trust. And so the other physician or the other surgeon I considered was the man. And I had full trust in him. What I didn't trust was his team. His team was short. They were unhelpful. Not accommodating. And like, to me, it was like, I think that, and especially if surgeons are listening to this, like, realize that your staff is as important as you and can make or break. And then the third person who I had considered, her staff was actually really awesome. But there was a wishy-washiness to her. She was like, well, like, do you really want to do that? And like, I think that you know, and like, I understand, and as somebody who works in sales, essentially, like basically everything we do, even surgeons, like they're quote selling. They're selling themselves,
they are definitely
right?
selling.
They're selling. When you are like not confident in what it is that you're like, what you are going to create based on what somebody is saying they want, that wishy-washiness is, to me, a really, like, it pushes me away because it makes me feel like I can't trust you. Because if you can't ask me intentional questions to get to a very concrete answer while I'm awake, how am I going to be able to confidently trust you when I'm not?
Well, and I think, and sales is really, I'll say, your field within our entrepreneurial efforts, but I will say this about sales, in my opinion, is a lot of people screw sales up because they put their own personal opinion into the process. In sales, you should ask your client what their problems are, what their wishes are, what their hopes are, and whatever those are, whether they align with yours or not, you simply solve those things. You keep everything else out. And if you can't do that clearly, succinctly, and without throwing yourself and your own opinions out there, you create exactly what Brittany's talking about, this uncertainty, like, am I going to be under? And all of a sudden she's like, ooh, well, I don't like that. It has nothing to do with what she likes. It has everything to do with what Brittany
there's definitely like a professional opinion that has its space. But part of being good at selling is knowing when your opinion matters and when it doesn't.
Right. If it's a life-saving thing, or there's like vascular issues, or there's scar tissue, and she's going to have to make some sort of decision, I get that. But if there's no other reason other than, no, I think it should be like this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one thing to be like, okay, these are the results you want. And in my professional opinion, with all my experience, this is how we achieve it. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that also people make is they'll start to kind of like go down these roads, and I see when I coach photographers, I see them do this. Like, they'll start talking about a product that the client said they weren't even interested in. I'm like, what are you doing? You like literally are just creating noise for this person to not actually say yes to you.
Right.
But there was a whole conversation with two of the surgeons about not giving me a lift. And because one side is like right on the cusp, like yes needs a lift, and the other one's like right on the cusp. It's sort of, and from what I've learned is that when you're on this cusp, you can go up in the implant size to create the same fullness. You just end up with bigger boobs. And one of the things I said is like, I had big boobs. I mean, like when I was breastfeeding, I got all the way up, you guys, to a 32G. Okay. My bra fit on my head. No, that was actually the moment. I remember my good friend Melissa, who is now a NICU nurse practitioner, she came over and she literally picked my bra up and she put it on her head. And I was like, yeah, I was like, that was it. I remember there's that photo of me breastfeeding Maverick, and literally my boob is like twice the size of his head. And this was when he was like 3 months old. Anyways, and then there was another time where you were just like, this is a lot. You were like, I understand there's men that are really into this, but this is a lot. There's a lot of territory here.
I'm not even a comment.
Yeah. And so when I was initially breastfeeding, and then I went right back down to size. Like I went right back to what I was pre-baby. I just didn't have any of the cute part anymore. I didn't have any of the upper fullness anymore. So, but anyways, all that to say, there was this conversation around like, well, why don't you just skip the scars? And, and then I'm like, well, won't I need a lift in like 5 to 10 years? Like once you put the weight of implants in there, won't I ultimately need? And they're like, yeah, but then you just come back. And I'm like,
sales.
Yeah. And then that to me was like, nah, like, and, yeah. And so that was also really, to me, it was almost like, it's like when your client comes in and says that they want this and you suddenly start talking about something completely different. And you're like, but what I said I wanted was this. In order to achieve those results, it's not this option. So why are we talking about this option? And it was helpful to go through those consultations, because by the time I got to the last one with the surgeon I'm going with, I said to her, based on everything you know about what I want, do you feel it's necessary that I have a lift? And she just said, 100%. You need a lift. And like, that was so, in the first surgeon that you came with me to that appointment with the man, he said the same thing.
Yeah.
The only thing that was consistent across all 4 surgeons was that I was a perfect candidate for a tummy tuck, that I did have diastasis, and that like it was like in a plastic surgeon's like scope of work, 100%, no questions asked, you were an ideal candidate. That was the only like consistent thing across all 4 of them.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's funny because a lot of people would probably look at you and say, you don't need a tummy tuck.
Yeah.
But all the doctors said that you're a perfect candidate. And I think the reason why is, one, you have a medical need, you have diastasis, which is a medical situation that would just only get worse with age. But 2, because of your frame and your just general figure, the results are likely to be very good. And I think all of the doctors are like, this will be a great showcase of what a tummy tuck can look like. Yeah. And I think that's why there was consistency there, medical need, and it's going to look good on the doctor because it's going to be like a great result. What I found fascinating, because again, don't do this all the time, but was all of the different approaches to achieving the ideal like symmetry and size.
Well, yeah, because they measure you. Well, you didn't go to the other 3 consultations. There's like measurements of, and their measurements are different. I learned that I have very wide breasts, which I kind of had an idea that I did, but I don't like. I mean, I've seen, being that I was a lactation consultant, I have seen a lot of boobs in my life. I have actually milked women in my life, which is TMI. I have shown people how to breastfeed their babies, all the things. Like, I have been intimately in this space of breasts before, not just my own, but more in the capacity of lactation, not actually looking at people's full frame and figure. And so I have naturally wide and actually naturally close.
Well, I was going to ask that question. Was because they're naturally wide, is it that there's an abnormal?
No, they're actually very close. She said that I have naturally close breasts, and she's like, do you want them closer? And I was like, no. I was like, I was like surprised. Well, but that was a really great question. She was the only surgeon actually that asked me if I wanted them closer together. And I said, no. My boobs got so big when I was breastfeeding that I never experienced chafing in my life until I was pregnant. I have always been very fit. Friction of my body just is not a familiar feeling for me. And I've just always been slender, and I experienced like chafing. I didn't like, so the thought that women actually want their breasts to touch when they're not even wearing a bra, to me is like, why would you do that? Like, it's so uncomfortable. Obviously, to each their own. You to you, girl. But it was really interesting because she asked me if I wanted them closer, and I was like, no, I just want them natural. Like, and she's like, well, you're fortunate. Your anatomy actually is rather close together naturally.
Because it's interesting. I had a weird conversation with my mother today.
Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh.
And Tina was like, the only thing that I don't like about my situation is how far apart they are. She's like, I wish that they were closer. And it's just funny because I think,
Zach's very close with his mom.
Oh, so close, unfortunately.
No.
Mom, if you're watching, I love you. It's great.
Yes. We love you, Tina.
But it's just interesting because all women have a preference, and her frustration or her only dislike about her procedure was that when she woke up, they were wider, closer to the armpit area, and she wishes that they were tighter. So
well, and I think there's also a limitation as to like what they can do based on your anatomy.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot, like, that was a long time ago that your mom had that done, but like there's a lot of different procedures. There's a lot of different types of implants now. And so I just think that the technology's improved. The techniques themselves have improved. So, but anyways, all that to say, that's how I ended up. What I found really interesting is, like, as I told people that I was doing this, hearing the response of like, why? And somebody who like doesn't have children.
Why?
Like people like look at me and are like, why? Like, what are you trying to achieve? You have a great figure. Like, you've had 4 babies. Look at you. You're, and it's like, well, one, like, it doesn't matter how much I work out. My abs will never be flat. They just can't because of the diastasis. And even though my diastasis isn't severe,
it will get worse with age.
But it was like, she's like, you're just trying to like live up to a body standard that's just not like a reality of someone who's had 4 children. And I'm like, I looked at her and I was like, it has nothing to do with a body standard. Like, I actually don't aspire to like, I simply aspire to feel really good in my clothes. Like, I go shopping and I'm like, can't wear that. Can't wear a bra. Can't wear that. Nope. Too low. I'll have a mom pooch. Like, there's just that for me is why I'm doing this, is like the insecurity. And it's not even like insecurity because it's more of like the lack of options. It's like, one, the fact that like it's hard for me to fit into clothes. It's like, you've seen me go bathing suit shopping. It's like, nope.
I've spent many hours there. Yep.
Like, it's literally, I could try on like 15 to 20 swimsuits and maybe find one, because I have a very small rib cage. I have very wide boobs. I essentially have the width of a large cup, but the fullness of like a medium cup, but the band size of an extra small top.
Yep.
And it's frustrating. Like, and anyways, all that to say, but then you combine like just being able to have options of what I want to wear and things that I'm like, wow, I would love to be able to wear that, but I can't because my boobs feel like they're down to my knees.
Yeah, and I mean,
which they're not. Again, they're not. But that's how it feels, because there was a time that my boobs weren't like that. You were talking about it today when I was saying, oh my God, I just can't wait to be able to not wear a bra. Like to be able to just like enjoy wearing certain dresses that you can't wear a bra with. And you were like, gosh, I remember when that's like every date we went on. That's...
Well, and I want to preface this. None of Brittany's decisions around the Mommy Makeover have anything to do with me. She's a super powerful woman. She makes the decisions herself. It is not about being
Yeah, no, you actually
some sort
never
of person.
have... You've never commented on my body ever negatively or ever.
She doesn't need this for me. I'm not going anywhere. But I will say this, like, for all of the effort and the years, we did the math. I don't know if this has been part of that, but
it wasn't part of it.
She's 9 years of either being pregnant or breastfeeding. And in my opinion, as her husband, she has more than earned the right, if she wants to, do this Mommy Makeover. And
I mean, not to say, like, I don't think that birthing children and breastfeeding, like, earns that for you. You don't have to, like, you don't have to do that. But I think especially for you, like, it's like proof in the pudding that it's been, it's like a badge that I've earned to be able to like go do.
And what I will say this, and this is to all women, whether you have conquered like weight loss and you have a reason, or you've birthed multiple children and you have a reason, or for whatever the reason, you have complete control over the rest of your life. And if you have an opportunity to be healthier or feel more confident or just wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and love the person that you are, that you see, then that's great, and you should be empowered to do so. And for Brittany, she's always loved being able to dress the way that she wants to dress, to have full options of what is...
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here in a sweatshirt.
Well, when do we go out? But I mean, and I think
pretty much look like a trash bucket all the time. I mean, there's like a 10% of time where my clients see me, and then like 2% of the time when you take me out.
Lies. You never look like a trash bucket. But anyways, what I'm getting at is, like, I think that all women should be able to do this, and the technology is there. I understand it's expensive, and
yes,
it may not be accessible to everyone, but it's weird. I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. As a pharmacist, the most popular trend out there right now is GLP-1s and weight loss, and they really work. And it's one of those things that's putting a lot of people into a situation where they've lost a ton of weight. And I think plastic surgeons are going to really swoop in and kind of say, hey, you've lost all this weight, let me help you out. Mm-hmm. We see this every day.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that just because of GLP-1s, there's going to be higher demand. I wouldn't be surprised if the prices kind of surge a little bit, because there is higher demand until more plastic surgeons come into the space. Mm-hmm. But all that to say, I'm purely doing it for me. Now, as I sort of went down the rabbit hole of like, hey, what am I gonna? Well, let's actually back up for a second. If you did not see my Instagram reel, we did the math on how long I have spent breastfeeding or pregnant. And in total, some of it overlapped. But when you look at it, between the 4 pregnancies and the breastfeeding for the 4 kids, I sustained that for over 3,304 days, which was exactly 9 years. I spent equivalent to 9 years. Sometimes it was doing both at the same time because I was pregnant and breastfeeding twice, but 9 years that I did both, that I was
doing one or the other.
Where I was doing one or the other, and I was growing children for 9 years. And then you were like, that's a quarter of your life.
Yeah, it's a quarter of your life. And it's, I mean, the female body, when you go through that, it's like it stretches, it contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your abdomen, this is your breast. It stretches, it contracts.
Mm-hmm.
It stretches, it
Considering
contracts. And it's just like
how much my body has done, like my body has recovered remarkably well.
Yeah, and this is I hate to say that this is an experiment, but I will be very interested to see how it recovers from what happens tomorrow.
Well, I mean, I'll say this too, is like, I lived a very healthy, like I've always been a very relatively active person. I grew up very healthy. Genetically, I do tend to lean towards the more favorable side of my family. So I am taller, I'm 5'8". So, my body carried pregnancies well. I recovered well from pregnancies, but I also think there was a significant amount of inherited / like actual health, like foundation that I built leading into those pregnancies to walk out of them that way as well.
And you're also still fairly young. And I think a lot of people wait to do this sort of surgery till later in life. Mm-hmm. When we don't heal as well, we're not as healthy, we have lots of skin related damage. Yeah. Like, I think the biggest thing that a lot of people...
I mean, breast augmentations are really common in people's 20s. But, like, for me, do you remember when we had a really close friend of ours and I was getting certified to be a lactation consultant and they were going to get an augmentation, and I was like, I would never get a breast augmentation and risk my milk. Like,
I do recall.
I was so passionate because at the time I was NICU nurse, and if you know the science behind breast milk, you know how incredibly powerful breast milk is, especially for premature babies. And I would never jeopardize providing my children milk for a breast augmentation, which is why I'm almost 40 now and doing it.
But saying that again.
But now again, there are a lot of different techniques that are actually now being able to really
they don't diminish the milk
They're
supply,
being able to protect the ducts and all, like, there's a lot more success with it now. So I even think 10 years ago when I was getting that certification to now, it's a different conversation.
Right. And again, not passing judgment on anybody who's had a breast augmentation in their 20s and still wants to have kids.
And if you don't want to breastfeed, that's fine too. Like, that is fine too. But I knew, based on what I learned through my practice in NICU, that come hell or high water, I will provide milk for my children. And I was very, very blessed to have an oversupply. There were times that I struggled to make enough milk. So I experienced oversupply and I experienced undersupply. The roller coaster, the pumping, all the things, like
and the dumping.
The pumping, dumping, all of it. So, but I just knew for me that, like, my first goal was 6 months, and then my next goal was a year. And I was really fortunate that with all the kids, I achieved that.
Or more, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, so I mean, that is women's bodies go through tremendous stressors and challenges, and when you come out of it at the end, you guys deserve any sort of modification.
And I'll say, like, on the whole breastfeeding topic, like, the perspective I had on it at the beginning, I think, was a lot more extreme because I was still fresh in my NICU days versus by the time we got to Lukey. And you remember towards the end, I was just like, if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would be like, just give the kid formula. Like, it's going to be fine. Like, because Lukey, you remember Lukey went through all of those things with his liver, and we had to put him on formula. And they needed to make sure that, like, they basically Lucas's liver was...
Mama's milk was too rich. Yeah, and his liver could not handle it.
It was struggling to break down the enzymes in my milk. And so, as a byproduct, he had elevated bilirubin, and because his liver was, and the way they came to this conclusion is they actually put him on formula because
They thought he had biliary atresia, which is a major problem.
Yeah.
The only treatment is liver transplant. Was really freaking us out.
Yeah, it was really scary. So I was like, at the time, I remember I was pumping my milk, and then I was just like freezing it because we didn't even know if he was going to be able to get to have it. But yeah, so anyways, all that to say is like, there's also, I think, circumstances, like I think about women's mental health, and I think about the mom math and the pressure and like
the challenges of
of like modern society and support for women in breastfeeding. And gosh, I mean, the options that existed 10 years ago when I had Maverick to now, like, and there's so much more activism around it and protection of mothers' rights and breastfeeding. And it's now, I mean, crap. Every time I see a mom breastfeeding at a dining room table, what do I do?
Cover her drink.
Yeah. I will literally say, can you please put her, like, if she's drinking a glass of wine or whatever, I'll be like, please put her wine on my tab. Please put her meal, put her meal on my tab, put her appetizer. Please go offer her dessert. Just charge me for a dessert. Because I'm always like, hell yeah, girl, you whip that boob out in public and you don't show no shame. Because like, I know how like hard that is for women. Like how, like it was so hard for me with Maverick. And by the time I had Lukey, I was like, here it is. Like, look the other way. Like, I didn't even try to cover it up, you know? But I just, like, all that to say, I've been through, like, the extremes of it is kind of what I'm saying. Is there was this time that I was just, like, so pro breast milk. And by the time I got to the other side of it, I just understood it in such a different way. And that was such a blessing with 4 children to be able to have so many facets to it. Mm-hmm. But anyways, all this to say, made it through. I'm curious. Our kids have been really the girls. Obviously, Lukey has no idea what's going on. He's not old enough. Maverick could care less. I mean, I
don't know. Maverick's had some questions for me lately.
What did he say?
Maverick's asked me questions recently. He said, how do babies get into mommy's bellies?
Oh, okay. Well, that's new.
And he said it with a smile. And I'm like, what have you been hearing in your YouTube channels? Oh, jeez.
No, it's probably even some of the kids at school, too. So
he has a chat with 20 kids from his class. Wow. So I'm sure there's things that could get said.
But, well, that'll be fun. That'll be a fun conversation for not this episode. For not this one. Yeah. But Zach and I have always had the philosophy, we're like, let's because we've both worked in healthcare, and we're like, we are not going to sugarcoat it. Let me show you what gonorrhea is. Let us.
I mean, our oldest is 10, and I've heard that is the new age where the talks need to start happening, which is just crazy to me.
Crazy, yeah.
But if you wait till 12, it's too late.
Oh my gosh. What? I'm not prepared for this. Okay, we need to... You know, one of my clients, her mom is a high school sex ed teacher. Ooh. And so I'm going to be like, hey, I need to go have brunch with your mom. I need a crash course, and then she'll probably let me hire her, let her come over here and teach Maverick. Yeah. Anyways, so but the girls, like Scarlett was like very concerned when we told her. Like she didn't fully, but we didn't fully tell her what I was doing, but she was just like, but why? And like, are you going to be okay? And then Chloe, I just was like, mommy's going to get new boobies. Like, mommy's going to get her boobies picked up. And so today she told me she was talking to her teacher that mommy was going to have, I think that she's getting confused. Like, the verbiage is getting, because I keep saying I can't pick up. Like, I can't pick up Lukey. And so she's like, my mom's getting her boobs picked up. Which is technically accurate, but like I haven't ever used that verbiage, so I think she's kind of mixing like mommy's getting her boobies lifted with picked up. So she told the teacher today that. Yeah. But I'm just like, I don't really care. Like, I think some people I do think we live in a world still where it's a little uncomfortable. Somebody sent me a DM on Instagram who follows me. She lives in another state, and she's like, I love that you're talking about this. She's like, I have had a breast augmentation. I had no boobs. I love my boobs. Like, I am so just like excited about them. And I feel like anytime a conversation around like swimsuits or like clothing or like anything, she's like, I can't even talk about it with my friends, like my close friends. And I think that she's in a very like Southern, more traditional type part of the country where it's just not as socially acceptable. But I don't know. I mean, like, I love the fact that people are enjoying talking about it. And I actually asked on social, do you want to hear more about this, or is this TMI? And there were some people who said that it is TMI, which is totally fine. I hope if that's you, you're not listening to this episode. Or maybe you are, because you're super curious, but it's like TMI in the world you live in, right? But yeah, I'm like, I think it's...
We file this under raw and real on the podcast.
The raw, the real. How does our thing go at the beginning?
You always do it, so I don't know.
No, but that's part of the intro.
Mm-hmm.
The script and the intro. The raw, the real, and the unfiltered stories of love and marriage. I don't know, something like that. Yep. Anyways, but yeah, the raw and the real. And I think that there's just so many people who crave understanding and the decisions and like what led them to this place. I mean, the ADHD episode that we did, I still think we should go do a little bit more on ADHD. The amount of people who were like, I mean, dozens and dozens of people loved those episodes. Mm-hmm. And so I hope that people walk away from hearing these episodes and are like, oh my gosh, I feel affirmed that like I'm going to go and do that. Or like just hearing you talk about it, let me know that it's not for me. Or maybe somebody who, you know, it hasn't even had a baby, but like hearing the dedication of my journey to supplying milk. Oh, speaking of, that was the one other thing I wanted to do the math on.
What is this?
So, the cost of formula. Okay?
Mm-hmm. As the finance guy,
can we do dad math? Because this could fall into dad math, not mom math. Okay? Because it's $3,000. So I did some research. There's a range, but it's like $2,500 to $3,000 for formula for 1 year. And the $2,500 would be considered in the like warehouse, think like Costco, Kirkland's brand,
you're at like
non like generic knockoff wholesale bulk, right?
You're like $7 to $7.50 a day.
So like 3,000 is sort of like mid-tier Gerber. You're not getting into specialty formulas like the Bobby formula and the, you know, Elementra and Elecare, and I know a lot about these from when I was a NICU nurse.
Which are like $9 to $10
Yeah,
a day.
you're not getting into like the higher dollar. We're talking like 3,000 is like 3,000's like mid-tier, maybe even on the lower range of that. Okay, so if you do the math, 3,000 times 6.5 years,
it's like $20,000.
Yeah. So the amount of money that we saved on formula alone basically paid for my mommy makeover.
Yep. As I said, and I've always said, she's earned it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, even if I had only just had babies. I mean, even if I had babies and I was just a really tired mom that wanted perky boobies, that would be fine too.
I wouldn't argue, but I'm just saying, like, you've more than earned it. Like,
yeah. But anyways, all that to say, because you were like, it basically kind of paid for itself when we did the math on it. And I was like, thank you. And I think I know that there are women listening to this right now who want this for themselves and have a partner who isn't supportive like you, who would be like, we can't afford that, we're not going to prioritize that in our finances, or that's not necessary, or that's not how we're going to use our money. And like, for me, I'm like, girl, go if you like, because I think for men, they're very literal, right? Men are very like practical, literal. And if you go and you're like, well, if you recall, I breastfed for blah, 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 blah. And based on that alone, I saved our family, blah, 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 blah. So suck it. I'm going to get my boob job. Like, so I don't know. Like, I definitely am we both very much have a mentality of like, prove what you're worth. And that to me is like proving that like you earned it, right? The other thing to me too is if you did breastfeed or you pumped, the amount of not just money, okay, but if that was you, there is studies that have been done on the amount of time that you spend pumping and breastfeeding. It is equivalent to a full-time job with like 3 weeks vacation. So the amount of time that you clock in a full-time job it's the same equivalent for a calendar year of a full-time job. And then I look at it this way, as I'm like, and then there's women who work a full-time job and produce milk that is equivalent to the time of a full-time job. And then she still manages a household on top of that, right? And then sometimes is even pregnant with the next kid on top of that. Like, I see these clients that I work with and they're pregnant, they're breastfeeding, they're working full-time, and they're pumping. And I'm like, you are a goddamn goddess. Like, holy hell. Like, I just, that to me is like power. Just like power in a room. You're just sitting here shaking your head and you're like,
no comment. I disagree 100%. I mean, most men in that moment are working a full-time job and coming home and saying,
yeah,
what's the deal?
Yeah, like, why are the dishes not done or whatever?
And
you know, or like, I hate hearing when occasionally I'll hear from clients or like that their partner will say something negative about them, especially when we have people in our studio and they're trying on wardrobe, and it kills my soul. It crushes my soul when I hear that for a woman, because I'm like, they grew a human. Like, they have birthed that human. Their body has gone through the most radical transformation. The like studies on the amount of hormone shifts that a woman goes through in like a short period is equivalent to the hormone changes a man would go through in their entire life. And it's like you take this entire life and then you like micro like it down to this tiny window that they experience it in this very short period of time. And the fact that women can have this massive hormonal change, and somehow, I mean, granted, like, I think every mom goes through some sort of like mental instability in the process of it, and we all have moments in some more profound than others, but like, and somehow we managed to like pull our shit together and make it through to the other side. And I mean, I think it's just talking about all of this right now is like, this is why I do what I do. Like, I just get to work with a bunch of badass women. I get to take pictures of them and make them feel beautiful. And it's really awesome to get to celebrate them. And I think more than anything, like, me going on this journey is I hope inspiring other women to celebrate themselves and to look at what they've achieved and to say, hey, yeah, I deserve to have the perky boobs I've always wanted, and I want to be able to wear that dress again, you know, and feel really confident in it. And so sharing this journey that I'm on right now is I hope inspiring somebody here that's listening today.
It's definitely inspiring to me.
So I have 15 minutes. I need to finish this bottle of water. And then tomorrow we go in at 6:45, and I think I'll be under by like 7:30, and I'll be out for quite a while, and like probably about 6 hours. I will say I got the name of the anesthesiologist. I already texted my client that's an anesthesiologist. She's like, I know who you're in. She's like, I trust him with my life. So
good to know people in high places.
No, seriously, it's really good. I have got some really great clients. Man, we're gonna call up my client whose mom's a sex ed teacher. Like, I was texting with the anesthesiologist today. I will say that like Dr. G is friends with a few of my clients, and I just know kind of that circle, and they're all healthcare professionals. And you know, so seeing her in her personal life, carrying herself in really, really groups that I just think are really awesome people is very like affirming. So anyways, all that to say, tomorrow's the day I get new boobies. I will never forget, I have to tell this story. When Chloe was running down the street here at the house, and I couldn't get her to come back, and I go, you want boobies? You want some boobies? And she just, you want mommy milk?
Turned around.
She just made a U-turn. She just tight U-turn, and came right back to the house. And I just was like, oh, the power of some boobs.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah. So, and then it was so sad because like Lukey just kind of self-weaned, and he was just sort of like, he was at the end of the road, and I would have kept going, but he just really preferred to like eat. Yeah, he just really preferred.
Kid learned to eat.
Yeah, kid just wanted to eat the solid food, and so it's sad. I look like hell in the last photo. I didn't know that it would be our last latch, but I think in some ways, you know, a lot of moms will have these, they'll say, okay, this is it. We're going to like draw the line in the sand. I'm never going to breastfeed you again. And it's this very emotional, like almost breakup. And so I think for me, every weaning has just been this sort of like, hey, I'm kind of busy right now, maybe later, or, you know, except Scarlett.
It's been a soft breakup, yeah.
It's been a soft breakup. It's been like, hey, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Like, maybe I won't. Scarlett, on the other hand, I tried to wean Scarlett, you guys, for literally 3 months. And it got to a place where she would try to pull my shirt down. And when I would tell her, do you remember I would pull my shirt up and I would like tighten it tight around my neck? And she would hit me. Like, she would get aggressive, and then I would leave. You would be like, leave. Just leave the house. You just like, I started to feel like my body wasn't my body. Yeah. And that was something I really felt like, I remember hearing women say that and being like, what do you mean? Like, how would you ever feel that way? And then I experienced it, and I was like, yeah, it feels like being controlled.
Violating, yeah.
Like violating by your own baby. And so all of my breastfeeding journeys were really
unique, yeah.
Really unique. Very, for the most part, really positive.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
On that note, I'm going to fall asleep on this microphone.
Yeah, he's like, I'm really done talking about boobs. I'm really done talking about them. I'm just looking forward to the new ones that are on the other side.
No. To be completely honest, I'm not even thinking about the final side. I'm thinking about the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, how are you feeling really quick before we hop off?
Well, I mean, this could be a whole episode, but honestly, the next several weeks are going to be stressful.
Yeah, because I can't pick up the kids.
It's going to be out of commission.
Lift anything over my
It's
head.
going to be me and the 4 kids, and me trying to lean on Maverick and Scarlett to be helpful.
Yeah, they're very helpful.
And just logistics of drop-offs and pickups.
That's going to be very hard.
So yeah, there's a lot to come over the next 4 to 6 weeks, and we will see how recovery goes. But yeah, so I'm equally stressed, but for different reasons.
Yeah. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm not crying. I will tomorrow. I guarantee you I'm going to walk in that OR and I will be a sobbing mess.
Okay.
I already told them that though. They know. I wish I had grabbed the call with the doctor, just to been like, hey, just want to let you know, like, Crazy Town's gonna be walking through at 7 a.m. But yeah. I'm sure they experience it all the time, so it'll be good. Anyways, that concludes episode 2 of the Mommy Makeover, and we will see you guys on the other side when I'm in recovery. I think I'm gonna do a day-to-day series over on Instagram, but I'm gonna do it on my Brittany Elise official page. So if you want to see Mommy Makeover Part 1, Mommy Makeover Part 2, and then like recovery post-op, that's going to be the place to see it, is Brittany Elise official, not my photography page. So thanks guys for joining, and if you love this episode, hop over to my Instagram, let me know what you think, and if you have questions, let me know. I'll answer them on the next episode.
We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.